Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do K, the anime, episode 9 review. And this week's episode of K, people, yes, whoa, yeah, my God, this week's episode of K. Downright amazing. This rating is amazing. It was an amazing episode of K. Straight up. Alright. I'm gonna go section by section. But for sure, the main focus of this episode were the Kings. It was the Kings, people. It was the Kings. The origin of the Kings and the clansmen. We see the Gold King in action, which was fantastic. Alright. Then we see the nameless colorless king in action. Well, not in action, but we see his ability, or one of his abilities. And then Mikoto versus Scepter 4. Guess who won? That. I mean, it was like mad. It was like, whoa. Mikoto slaughtered Scepter 4. They didn't stand a fucking chance. Which again, it shows you just how powerful the Kings are in comparison to the clansmen. The Kings, I mean, granted, there are some kings that are quote unquote weaker or stronger than other kings, but still, it doesn't matter. The Kings are freaking powerful, man. Mikoto, the way he just walked up and was like hands in pockets, and then Aoisawa does her like cut thing, and then they kind of make like a net in order to slice him, and that shit like fizzles through because he's just powered up, because he literally is so powerful where it doesn't even affect him. Then she just like backs away, and as does like all of Scepter 4. Mikoto powers the fuck up. He powers the fuck up, man. And then he takes his hands out of his pockets, finally. But my God, when he did, he was like, yeah. Bam. And then like a tornado, a huge red tornado. I mean, this was way more powerful than Yada's. Yada's, it was good, but it wasn't like, and plus he needed a skateboard and like it couldn't move. But his, it was like a freaking goddamn hurricane. It was like, yeah, and then it just, and well, not hurricane, a cyclone, and it leveled the fucking area. And Fushimi was able to save Aoisawa from the brunt of that attack, but she still got damaged, as does he. And then when again Mikoto, hands in pocket, walking mad smooth towards his boys who were already fucking there. They were already fucking there. And Fushimi was shaking. He was like fucking like battle. He couldn't do it. He couldn't fucking do it. He was so fucking scared. Cause Mikoto is just that goddamn powerful. And the thing here is that what caught me off guard for like a split second was that you would think that because Fushimi was a former clansman that he would address him, but no. He's like, you know what? Fuck you, I don't care. Like, his boys were right there. Yada and his boys. Yada, Anna, that one guy, the guy who owns the bar, guy's name, they're all right there. Kusanagi, Kusanagi, like, they're all just chilling. Like, the other guys, when they come in, like, the other guys, when Mikoto finally gets there, he's like, yo. And then they're like, and I'm like, yeah, like that was fucking cool. That was fucking, yeah. I completely deviated from going step by step. I just jumped to the fucking ending because it was awesome. The ending was fucking awesome, dude. But clearly, the most important thing in this episode was the backstory of Adolf K. Weissman, because we now know the origin of the creation of the Sword of Aura, or aka the Sword of Damocles. Not only that, but we don't see the creation, but we see the time in which the creation of the first king, the Silver King, occurred. And it was around 1945 in Japan, so right at the end of World War II. And we see that apparently Adolf K. Weizmann, he was a member of like these scientists, like these German scientists, and then they were experimenting with this slate. And again, we know the origin of the powers of the psychic powers of the kings and the Sword of Aura, but we don't know what the origin of this slate is. Like, this slate is just there. It's just fucking there. But like we may, when I say may, we may find out later on. And this slate, apparently, it grants a creature or a person the Sword of Aura. And the Sword of Aura grants that creature or person psychic powers. So what they do here, the German scientists, along with Adolf K. Weizmann, they experiment with these mice, and then they kind of like put this one mice with like a blue dot over it, and then the Sword of Damocles hovers over the mice, and then the mouse starts to have a blue aura to it, and then the mice starts running towards the maze. And it appears as if the other mice were affected by the head mice. So in this sense, the mice with the blue dot on him, he was the king. And then the other mice follow in, gaining his powers, thus the clansmen. And I'm not gonna lie, even though they were mice, it was a pretty badass scene. Yeah, for a bunch of rodents, it was a pretty badass scene, because like we see the head mice. He's chilling there, and the other niggas fall behind. So it was cool. It was really cool. So I like that. Kind of like the same thing that Mikoto does with Scepter 4. Like, they fall in line. He's at the helm, looking all badass and shit. So I like that. And the key thing here is that over a period of time, after Adolf and his sister are talking to the lieutenant, I had a feeling that the lieutenant was the Silver King, was the Gold King, like in the old days, but I'm not too sure. I want to say that he is, but I don't know. I don't know. But either way, what happens is that over a period of time, the head mouse, it dies because there's an explosion in the area, and the model maze like breaks and it explodes. And then the Sword of Damocles that was over the mouse, it's like charred red. And then the mouse on the ground is dead. The Klansman mouse, they're fine, but the King mouse, he's dead. Now, what I will say is that it kind of threw me off a little bit, because according to the beginning of the series, the Sword of Damocles falls down. But we didn't see that. What we saw was that something happened, and then the Sword of Damocles was like charred red, and then the mouse is dead. So I don't know if all the swords fall down, but something bad happens regardless if a king overuses his powers too much, or if they are there too long and they don't transfer their powers to another person and make that person the king. So something happens that will either destroy the area or wipe it out, whatever. Now, after that, we see Weizmann, and it's like a few months later, like a few days later, I guess, and they're in Japan. They got bombed by Americans. His sister died in the process. Either she died by the bombing or some other reason, but either way, he appears right in front of, when the lieutenant, he looks in the sky because he's seen the destroyed town. Looks in the sky, sees a white sword in the sky. He goes to that location, and lo and behold, we see Adolf K. Weizmann, and he's holding his sister in his hands. Now, I do have a theory, and my theory is that maybe in order to gain the powers of the first king of the slate, then maybe he had to kill his sister, or maybe his sister had to die in the process, because he is known as the Immortal King. The Silver King is the Immortal King. So, maybe it has something to do with that. But I'm not too sure, though. Again, we'll see, though. We'll see. Well, no, actually, no. I don't think we'll see, because he's dead. Well, now he's dead. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, right? I don't know, but maybe it'll be revealed. Maybe it'll be revealed later on how exactly happened. But as of right now, I'm going to assume that it's either she died in the bombing or it's because of the slate. Now, we jump back to real time. And to real time, what happens here is that we first get a scene of the plane crash and the blimp crash. And then we see these guys wearing these rabbit masks, which apparently are called Usugi. And the Usugi work for the Gold King. And what happens is that Munakata, he goes to see the Gold King. But before that, we get a scene of the high school. And the high school is basically Kukuri and her friends going about the high school for the festival. And then we see them go to Shiro's apartment, which is supposed to be vacant, but in fact has stuff in it. And the entire time, they're saying, like, yeah, that guy, like that guy, that guy. Well, they don't know his name. Like, they have this feeling that they're missing someone in their party, but they don't know who he is. Because it's simply put, that guy. Because Neko was the one who encased the memories inside their brain. But still, like, they feel that something is amiss, that something is off. And they want to know what's going on. And that's the whole entire thing with the high school. I mean, we do divert back later with the Colorless King, but, I'll get to it later. Now, we go and we shift over towards Munakata, who has now reached the huge skyscraper of the Gold King. And the Gold King's in a room. And the room has a coffin. And that coffin, inside the coffin is Adolf K. Weissman's body. But at the same time, underneath the coffin, underneath the glass floor is the slate. The slate which gives the kings their power. So, I mean, that's very important because now it lets me know that the Gold King may have been the one responsible for giving power to the other kings. Because Adolf K. Weissman in 1945 went his fucking blip. He was in the sky. He was gone. So it was the Gold King who kind of like led the whole entire system of the kings. The Silver King was a quote-unquote myth before. Because I remember, I think it was Fushimi who pointed out that the Silver King is like a myth. But, he's actually real. But, whatever. Or he was real, now he's dead. And what happens here is that the Gold King, he automatically confronts Munakata. And makes like a zone. And this zone, there's like planetary objects and shit. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, it was like, damn, bro. There's like planetary objects and shit in this zone. And they go flying towards Munakata. He uses a barrier. And the planets like keep on doing that shit until he stops. And then the Gold King, he speaks in a way where it's very, I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of like medievalish, where he says, "Art thou hearest to kill me, or no, well, like fight me, or art thou hearest to talk?" Some shit like that. It's very medieval-ish, like I'm watching sci-fi or something. And Munakata, he's just like, "No, I'm here to talk because I want to know why the immortal king, the Silver King, the myth, why he died. Because he's supposed to be immortal, but he's dead. So how can the immortal king die? Makes no fucking sense." So, and that was the entire thing. But as far as we know, the Gold King simply said, fine, you can look at him, but then don't fucking touch him. I mean, because he didn't touch him. As far as we saw, all he did was look inside the coffin, and then that was it. You have no idea what happened after that. All he did was look. Okay, and that was it. So, but yeah, that was it. And then after that, we shift over to like the meats. Like, everything was the meat beforehand, but this is more meat. Alright? This is meat on top of meat on top of meat. No homo. Alright? So think of it more of like a triple baconator. As opposed to a triple bacon. What the fuck am I talking about? This shit's already triple. A triple baconator with extra bacon and throw in a sausage, alright? So that's a lot of meat, alright? That's a lot of meat. A lot of meat. And what happens is Munakata, Mikoto, he's in his prison chilling. And all of a sudden, there's some random fucking phone that plops in his freaking cell. All of a sudden, the phone levitates, and then we hear the voice of the supposed Colorless King. And he's talking smack. He's talking the biggest fucking smack ever. He's like, you know, Mike, like all the stupid shit. And he's, you know, like, I'm gonna kill Yata, I'm gonna kill Anna, you know, I like killing the young girls, I like that shit, it turns me on. I'm like, bro, chill. And Mikoto opens his eyes. And apparently that was the signal. That was the go-to signal where the Colorless King, his little fox projection out of the phone, like, warps inside Mikoto's eye. Then it enters like a realm, which I'm assuming that this realm is the physical, what's the word? The physical embodiment of his psychic powers. There we go, yeah. So this realm inside Mikoto is the physical embodiment of Mikoto's psychic powers. And what happens here is that the Colorless King's projection fox starts to literally suck in all this like magma, fire, goo-ish thing. Alright? But Mikoto, he's very calm, cool, and he says, okay, so that was your plan. And then all of a sudden, in his realm, inner realm, what happens is that all of a sudden, the fire cuts off, and then we see this giant fire magma tiger, like, you know, like a fire magma tiger. This motherfucker blitzes outside. He blitzes out of Mikoto and goes back to his original location, which apparently is in Shiro's freaking room. So apparently, the Colorless King is a student in this high school that Shiro used to chill at. And Mikoto, since some of his powers are with this fox entity, Mikoto, the moment it hits the Colorless King, it ignites like a fuse in the phone, and then the phone blows up, huge explosion. And then, you know, so we're going to assume that this person who's calling himself the Colorless King, he is wounded. After that, Mikoto breaks the fuck out of goddamn Sector 4. He just, yeah, well, no, not like that. You know, clearly not like the fucking Hulk. But he's more just calm. He's melting everything. I mean, nothing is staying in this guy's path. And he walks outside, Sector 4, you know, they're there. You know, like, I already told you this shit, man. Sector 4, they're there. They got their asses wrecked, man. One more time. Pockets, power up, tornado, yeah. Sector 4, wipe the fuck out. His boy standing right there. Kusanagi, good job, Mikoto. Other guys, loose. Yeah, I'm really happy. Anna holds him in the hand. They walk away, and now they're gonna go invade the fucking high school so they can kill this guy who took out Totsuka. And at the end, after the credits, we see a key scene where Anna, who is chilling with, you know, she's now holding Munakata's hand, and they're walking along. She holds the spear up in the sky, her little crimson balls. Whoa, that sounded really wrong. All right, her crimson spheres. And then that sphere shatters. It cuts her hand, and then on some Dead Man Wonderland shit, the blood from those cuts comes out of her hand, makes another sphere, floating right there. She stares at that sphere, and then she sees the image of what Mikoto had in his own dream, where Mikoto destroys like a majority of the city. And then she looks at him, and then she says, you know, a few things, and right there, the episode actually ends. So, what we now know is that Anna knows that Mikoto is now nearing that point of a king's life where his powers must be passed down, otherwise it will cause a catastrophe. It happened before, and apparently that sword of Damocles fell down. And now Mikoto, unless he gives his powers away, the same thing should happen, and then he will die in the process. I believe so. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's gonna be some crazy shit. So, but now she knows. And that there is the end of the episode. Now, I do want to say one last thing, and then I'm gonna go head out. All right. The Colorless King. His powers are very important. Why is that? Because he may, in fact, be a strain, because his fox entity, if it can absorb or eat your psychic powers, that means that it can steal or absorb or take in a person's psychic ability. And this person may have done the same thing to Iwa, the former Colorless King. He may have taken his powers or devoured his powers by using his own strain ability. And that's why Kuro was so adamant about hunting down the one who claimed to be the Colorless King, because this person killed his former master. So I think that Kuro using Totsuka's death as an excuse so he can seek out revenge against the person who actually did it. That's what I'm believing right now. Like, that's what I'm feeling. Because if he can do that, because listen, this guy stole the powers, if I'm right, he stole the powers, or he devoured the powers of the Colorless King, the weakest of all the kings. All of a sudden, you go from him to fucking Mikoto, the third king. It's like, whoa, like that's a huge fucking jump, and he wants his ass. No homo. But what I will say is that right now, when it comes to the kings, we've seen the ones that are, you know, like, alive. We've seen, well, no, and you know, fuck it, right? We know that Adolf K. Weissman, Silver King, so we've seen him. We've seen the Gold King, of course, Munakata Reishi, and Suho Mikoto. And then, of course, we've quote-unquote seen the Colorless King. And then that leaves the green motherfuckers, alright? Where the hell are they? Where the fuck are the green guys? Seriously, am I forgetting someone? Hold on. I don't know. But all I know is that we are forgetting about the Green Clan. Where the fuck is the Green goddamn clan? Where the fuck are they? The Green King, the Green Clansmen, where the fuck are they hiding? Come the fuck out. Party on, man. Party with the rest of the goddamn kings, alright? The Silver King is dead. The Gold King is pissed off. You guys should be, like, shown at least once. At least once. Please. Please, God. For closure. Alright, I'm done. King of Lightning. Rating, once again, amazing. I'm done. Be sure to, of course, rate, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Have a nice day. Oh, by the way, look down in the description below for the link to this week's episode of K. Signing out.